Hello everyone. Welcome to the Belmont Journal, Belmont's own hyperlocal news program and program for community affairs. I'm your host, Roger Colton. Becca Peasy did it again. 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. And by winning 6 of those 7 marathons, Becca Peasy reclaimed her world championship in the World Marathon Challenge. We can all meet Becca and congratulate her at the 3rd annual Becca Peasy 5K road race. The Becca Peasy road race will be held at the Belmont High School on April 29th. Winslow Homer is one of Belmont's most famous citizens. The Belmont Media Center and the Belmont Women's Club has filmed a video tribute to Winslow Homer. The film, Winslow Homer's Belmont, will premiere at the Belmont Studio Cinema on February 25th at 3 o'clock. Hello, welcome to This Week in the Belmont Citizen Herald. We have with us today Joanna Juvelis, who is the senior multimedia journalist with the Citizen Herald. Thanks for stopping over today.
Glad I could be here, Roger.
There is big news in the recycling world that is affecting Belmont now.
That is correct. So back in December, the Belmont Citizen Herald broke a story about how China is banning recycling from America. Jay Marcotte, our DPW director, he told me about this. He said this is going to affect the contracts that we're going to be getting for trash and recycling pickup in Belmont. But little did he know that it would affect his current contract with Russell Disposal, Inc., which has about 5 months left. He never expected to get a letter from their lawyer threatening to stop service in Belmont if Belmont doesn't amend its current contract with them.
And what amendment is Russell seeking?
Russell is basically saying, you know, we can't process dual stream recycling anymore, that nobody's taking it. So we have to process your recycling as single stream, which is going to cost more money to them.
To make clear, dual stream recycling is where newspapers and
you separate your newspapers
and the recyclables.
And your plastic. So Belmont had to agree, and very reluctantly had to agree, to pay 50% of the whatever RDI is paying for processing, up to $45.92 a ton. Residents will continue to put out their recycling as dual stream, but it will be processed as single stream. And the second part of the story, Roger, is that when the new contract starts July 1st, most likely we will no longer be a dual stream recycling community. We will be going to single stream. We'll know better by the end of the month because contracts have come in, bids have come in for contracts. Jay's in the process of negotiating, and there'll be news about this, and there'll be a lot of community education about this because what was once recyclable may no longer be recyclable.
Okay, let's talk about elections. It's election season in Belmont.
Yes,
do we have a competitive race this year?
We do, and believe it or not, it's for the Board of Health seat.
The Board of Health,
yes, the
which
Board of
is
Health
David Alper is the incumbent.
He has held the seat for 30 years, and he told me he hasn't been in a race in 18 years. But newcomer Stephen Fiore, who's married to our school committee chairman Lisa Fiore, he pulled and filed papers for the school committee Board of Health seat. He wants to run, and he says my legal perspective and fresh voice can really serve the community well, and he's not afraid that David Alper has that 30 years of experience. He really wants to give it a shot, and David Alper, he does. He has that 30 years of experience. He's a podiatrist, a private practice here in Belmont, and he sits on the Massachusetts Board of Health that oversees all the boards of health in Belmont. In Massachusetts. So we'll see what that brings. We also have news that Jim Williams is not running for Selectmen. Tom Caputo is going to run, and he is an official candidate. School committee candidates so far are Lisa Fiore for the 1-year seat, Susan Burgess Cox for her 3-year seat, and Tara Donner is a newcomer also running for the 3-year seat. But there's no race yet.
But there are two people who have pulled
people
papers
pulled.
but not submitted them.
Right. Klaus Becker and Jill Norton pulled papers. So we'll see if they file them. We'll know by February 13th if we have a race there. And we'll also know if there's going to be a race for assessors, because two people have also pulled papers for that, Marty Moline and Will Belitz, but neither have filed. So we'll see what happens.
And if there are competitive races, people can watch
Absolutely.
a debate
Yep.
between the candidates.
Right, maybe co-hosted by us.
Right here at the Belmont Media Center.
Right, right. Stay tuned.
Our Belmont High School kids
Yes.
answer strange questions, and they have to have those answers at the top of their heads.
Right. So this is their 5th time competing in the WGBH High School Quiz Show. Their 5th time. They've never become champions, but they've come pretty close. And on February 10th at 6 p.m., everyone should tune in. Billy Costa is the host, and Belmont will be up against Bromfield High School. And if they win, they go to the quarterfinals, which will air March 31st. And the students that are competing are high school senior Eva Hill, another senior Wanyung Jang, junior Cameron Anderson, junior Matthew Miller, junior and alternate Lara Zhang, and freshman and alternate Tor Medelman. So I wish them all the best.
Good luck to our Belmont High School kids.
Yes.
On Brighton Street, there have been efforts to redevelop that corner
Yes.
at Pleasant Street
Corner
and Brighton
of Pleasant
Street.
and Brighton, that abandoned gas service station.
What's going on there now?
A man bought it. His name is Nicholas Leo. And he got approved to put a retail building there for 3 retail spaces, and including 1 fast food restaurant. He wants to put a Dunkin' Donuts there. And he has gone to the Zoning Board of Appeals 2 times for a special permit. The first time he was denied. Then he went and he got approved for the building by the planning board, and now he's back to the zoning board, and he still hasn't got approved, but he still hasn't got denied. It's continued, and we'll know better, but he has to really show that traffic isn't going to get worse in that area.
That's great. Well, thank you for bringing us those stories. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Roger.
If you or someone you love has been prescribed an opioid, or if you know someone who struggles with opioid addiction, a medication exists today that can literally be a lifesaver. Narcan was developed for use by caregivers, by family, by friends. Let's listen in to 2 of Belmont's firefighters who explain how to administer Narcan.
Heroin works like a key almost. It will affect your nerve endings in your brain, and it makes serotonin release. It gives you a happy feeling. What the Narcan is going to do is bump that heroin key off of that receptor and take it over itself to block the heroin from actually working on that receptor. So the individual will lose their high and hopefully be revived. In the civilian setting, it's a much more convenient package, and it comes in 4 milligrams, 4 milliliter dose. What you would do is just simply peel the back. Instructions are in it if you need the instructions, but it's very, very simple. Take the drug out, and it looks just like this. The same basic principle, the medication's already inside. You will put this to one nostril and cover the other nostril, like so. Once it's like that, you push very hard, and that same nasal mist comes up, and that goes in the nasal passageway. Now, Narcan is a great drug, but it only lasts for about 45 minutes. A heroin overdose can last up to 2 hours. So even after the administration of Narcan, we still need to get the person to the hospital. So we need to call 911 immediately. Before, after the administration, just as soon as possible, because they are going to need to be seen at an emergency medical facility. If they're not, the drug can recapture that cell that we don't want them to, the neuron ending, and get the patient high again and push them into respiratory depression again. And more doses of Narcan would then have to be administered. So it's a great drug, but they do need to go to the hospital as well. And so any family member that has anyone in their family that they might suspect is using or anything, go see your physician or local emergency room, explain the situation to them, and they'd be happy to hand out a thing of Narcan for you, just in case. So a lot of, it's a good point of when to actually administer the drug, but you want to wait until the individual goes into that agonal period of breathing, when they're drop down, they're on the ground, they'll probably be starting turning blue. You'll try to find a pulse. It might not have a pulse because their heart rate is just dropping significantly. So if you just see them down and you give them a good sternal rub, you grab your hand and you put it on that chest and you scream and shout in their ear while rubbing and they're not reacting to you, that's when you want to use the drug.
I would just add that always remember, if you do have to administer Narcan to a loved one, always call 911. In Belmont, you're going to get the Belmont Fire Department, Belmont Police Department. We're there to help, and we're here 24/7.
Welcome to This Week in the Belmontonian. We have with us Franklin Tucker, the editor and publisher of the Belmontonian, which is Belmont's online source of hyperlocal news. Thank you for coming, Franklin.
Thank you, Roger.
The farmers market, every year, it seems like we're talking about the farmers market about this time of year. What's going on?
Well, usually when we're talking about the farmers market, it's in anticipation of great things, which is like the next season of farmers market. But for the last 2 years, there's been a bit of a dispute between the largest landlord in Belmont Center, Locatelli's properties, and the farmers market. Kevin Foley, who is the manager of Locatelli's, is saying that the farmers market is taking up too many parking spaces, basically 19 parking spaces for the entire day of Thursday. And he's saying that it's going to be hurting the new businesses that have gone into what used to be the Macy's, which is now called the Foodies block. For the second year, he's come to the Board of Selectmen with his dispute, basically, with the farmers market.
Is your impression that there are other merchants in that block that join in Kevin's objections?
There are quite a few that believe that in the future, because the Macy's block, which is now the Foodies block, has now become completely rented out to businesses, there's a fear that they need as many parking spaces as possible. What they would like to see is either the farmers market move to another area where they wouldn't be in competition with other businesses, or they would like to see a date change, more like on the earlier part of the week, on Monday or Tuesday. What happened is basically the Board of Selectmen asked that both sides meet, and on Monday, the farmers market came back. They said they had talked to the businesses and the landlord, and they really dug down deep and tried to find out what was the real reason behind this. And it turns out that it's a long-standing issue of businesses and parking in that Belmont Center area. And what the Board of Selectmen did is agree to listen to those demands, but they also allowed for for the 13th season of the farmers market.
Okay, so we have a report out from the Committee to Study the Size of the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
I haven't tried to figure out the acronym there.
Let's keep it. Let's keep it the way it is. Well, it's a 13-member board that was created by town meeting this past year by a citizens petition by Jim Williams, and their whole charge was: should there be a change in the number of selectmen? They decided, after a large number of just a great way of going around and getting a lot of data, talking to all 16 past and present members of the Board of Selectmen and outside communities that have gone through this, they stated that yes, there should be an increase. They're basically saying that it will be a benefit because it will spur representation, be more diverse, and the board can then become more of a policy board, which a lot of communities have gone to.
And that will be before the town meeting this spring.
That's right. There'll be a decision made by town meeting either to accept it, delay it, or do something with it.
That's great. Thanks for joining us today. The Belmont Public Library celebrates its 150th birthday this year. And since its beginning, the Belmont Public Library has grown to the point where more than 1,000 people a day walk through its doors. As part of its birthday celebration, the Belmont Library has developed a new public service announcement to explain its role in the community. To talk about that PSA today, I have with me Belmont Public Library Director Peter Struzzaro. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Can you talk to us or tell us about why you developed the PSA?
Yes, I can. So we've developed lots of new programs and services at the Belmont Public Library over the last several years, and we wanted to find a way to let everyone in the community know what great things that we have. Very recently, we developed a brand new logo, so we're looking for an opportunity to share that as well. A few years ago, I started this effort, and I was looking for examples of how I could do this marketing, and I found this video from the Calgary Public Library, and it was a similar type PSA for them and how they shared with their community their new logo and services. And it really struck me in a certain way, and I thought, that would be really great if we could do something like that in Belmont. So we went ahead and brought in some professionals to help us and created our own.
Let's take a look at that PSA for just a minute.
Great.
Having seen the PSA, what would you like people to take away from that PSA?
Just the understanding that the library is different than it used to be. A lot of people remember the library as this quiet reading room, when they were children or when they were taking their children there in the 80s and the 90s, and things have really changed. We're not just a place where you can now use a computer or check out a movie, but we're really the living room of the community. We act as a community center for Belmont. So you can come to the library and do all sorts of things, business, pleasure, get together with your neighbors, meet new friends, and take part in some really great programming. We just have so much to offer everyone. And it's a big jump from the old days where that was the place to read and get a book.
Where can people see this PSA? It will just be on the Belmont Media Center's television stations?
So we're going to try and push out as much as we can. It'll be available on our website. It'll be running on Belmont Media's channels. In between certain meetings and other programming, we're going to reach out to the local cinema and see if they might work with us to utilize some opportunities there to show it to their customers. And you can probably just find it on YouTube as well. If you just go to YouTube and type in the Belmont Public Library, it'll come up.
And can people download this somewhere to share it with their friends and neighbors?
Not yet, but you can just pass those links around. You can share the link to our website or the link to the YouTube channel.
This is all part of your birthday celebration.
One of many things, yeah. So 150 years this year since Belmont decided they needed a public library back in 1868. So we have a lot of different efforts going on, and it made sense. This checked off a lot of boxes on our list of things we wanted to do this year.
Do you have a big event in particular coming up?
I have one coming up in a few weeks. We're going to do a Books in Bloom program. So it'll be March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the library. There'll be a ticketed event on Friday evening, March 2nd, hosted by the Garden Club, the Library Foundation. the Friends of the Library, and the Belmont Historical Society, where you can come and see fresh flowers on display. We'll have a cash bar and some refreshments, and some more programming over the course of the weekend, culminating on Sunday with a birthday party for children and families to celebrate 150 years at the library.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And happy birthday.
Thank you. Okay.
Here's Jane Peters with Belmont's community calendar for events coming up in the town of Belmont.
Hello everyone, I'm Jane and this is your community calendar for this week, February 12th through 18th. As Melanie Brooks worked on a memoir about her father's death, she sought guidance from the memoirists who most moved her. She interviewed 18 of them for her book, Writing Hard Stories. Melanie's book will be available for purchase at this free program, including a book signing on Monday from 11 to noon. Being engaged in your local and global community means being educated on the things that impact us. BMC, the Belmont Public Library, and Science for the Public are bringing a series of lectures in what is called the Citizen Literacy Series. The first in the series takes place on Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Join the conversation surrounding climate change, including the policies currently shaping how we deal with it, and effective actions to take as an individual. Powers faculty Alex Pollock and guest performer Anne Louise Klaus will melt your heart as they present folk songs by classical composers, arias, and songs from musical theater. Powers presents Love Songs from the 20th Century as part of their neighborhood concert series at the Beach Street Center on Tuesday at 1:15. What's your zodiac sign? Do you know what personality traits and relationship compatibilities are associated with it? If you want to learn more about the tradition and practice of astrology, this fun and interactive discussion with Beach Street member Athena McInnes on Tuesday at 2:30 is for you. Belmont Wheelworks Science of Cycling returns with part 2 in its series titled Good Nutrition for Great Results. Dr. Rochelle Pojednik will deliver an hour-long presentation answering many questions surrounding nutrition and breaking down more challenging concepts into easy-to-swallow pieces perfect for those planning endurance sports. This presentation will be held at Belmont Wheelworks on Thursday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Sergeant Daniel M. Clark, known as the Singing Trooper, performed while representing the Commonwealth of Mass during his 20-year career. During his tenure with the state police, he performed at more than 2,500 federal, state, local, and military functions. All are welcome to this long-awaited performance at the Beach Street Center on Friday at 1:15 p.m. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Nobody should stand on the sidelines. Help the League of Women Voters motivate the vote by creating a 30-second public service announcement encouraging people to make a game plan to vote on Election Day. Students can visit lwvma.org to register and upload their PSA between February 1st and March 31st. Any student interested in participating is encouraged to contact BMC for equipment use and assistance. Calling all artists with a love for fairy tales, folk tales, and fables. The Belmont Gallery of Art is looking for artists to submit their work that creatively interprets well-known and lesser-known stories from cultures around the world. Deadline for submission is March 9th. Visit the Belmont Gallery of Art webpage for more information. And that's all we have for this week. To have your event featured in Belmont Journal's community calendar, email your event info to jane@belmontmedia.org. See you next week.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Most of Belmont knows one of Belmont's leading couples. People know that Ralph and Sherry Jones have been active in the community for decades. Ralph's been a member of the Board of Selectmen. Sherry has been involved with the Belmont Garden Club. What people may not know is that Ralph and Sherry Jones have been married for almost 52 years this year. Happy Valentine's Day, Ralph and Sherry. Let's listen in as Ralph and Sherry Jones talk about and share the secrets of their longtime romance.
We enjoy each other and we enjoy doing things together, but we also allow the other person to do their thing. So it's never been where we had to do everything together. I mean, Ralph is even traveling. We love to travel. I took a garden trip with a friend of mine to Japan, and he's gone twice with Jean on photography trips. So we don't, Ralph isn't really interested in gardening, and I'm not really interested in photography. So we allow each other to do things that we really enjoy without forcing the other person to be involved.
And I realized that for our entire life, I had never been dancing with Sherry when we go out to events. I didn't dance. And that was a source of some hurt for her. And so I said, well, by golly,
We'll do it.
we'll do it. We'll learn how to dance.
Belmont High School's boys basketball team is making their final push toward the tournament time. We have with us today Franklin Tucker, who will give us an update on how the boys basketball team is playing.
This week's sports update focuses on the Belmont High School boys basketball team, which completed its main goal of the season by making the playoffs, winning its 10th game of the season with a victory over Lexington in Belmont on Friday. With Lexington concentrating on Belmont's all-star Danny Arnierian, his teammates took center stage. Friday was a big game for senior Will Ellett with 19 points and sophomore Mac Annis, who contributed from long range. Inside, Thomas Dedoyan paced the Marauders in rebounds and inside baskets. It was also a great game for Ben Siraji, contributing 12 points in his most productive game of the year. Despite being double-teamed and having to play against Lexington's top defender, Yaranian was finished with 20 points, topping all scores and having numerous assists. Belmont will now attempt to improve its placement in the upcoming Division II North sectionals with 6 games remaining.
Next up, here's what's happening on the Belmont Media Center's local channels. In the meantime, I want to remind you that this show is your show. So please send us your news tips, your ideas of community updates. Please contact News Director Frederic Rigolo at fred@belmontmedia.org. Well, that's it for this week's edition of the Belmont Journal. I'm your host, Roger Colton. I will see you again next time.